Hello, my name is Oceana, and I'm here to read the Caraval Trilogy by Stephanie Garber. I have already read Once Upon a Broken Heart. I've read the whole trilogy, so I'll link that video down below. I did read the whole trilogy first before reading Caraval, so I'm going back to read this now. And the lens that I'm going to read this through is my Christian values. I'm looking for light to no language and no spice, and then nothing too evil or sorcery or magic. I know that there is magic in this book, but I don't want it to be from an evil source or from a demonic source. So I'm looking for those kinds of things to then tell you if there is that content in this trilogy. And I do hope that I like the trilogy. I've heard really great things about these books, and that is why I tried Once Upon a Broken Heart. All of those books were 3 or 4 stars for me. I didn't love the trilogy. I'm hoping that I can like this one better, but I have heard that Once Upon a Broken Heart is her better trilogy, so we'll see. But either way, I did want to give this a read. So I have the library copy, and then I do also have the audiobook, so I'm going to be listening and reading at the same time. And then I do have the other books in transit. So Legendary and Finale are coming in as well, and then I also do have audiobooks for them. So unless Caraval has content that I just can't stand behind and I don't want to continue and I DNF and whatever, I do plan to read all 3 books in this video. So you can see my thoughts. It'll be spoiler free and I'll just give you content ratings. So let's read this together. I don't even know. Oh. It's really quiet. Okay. Oh, you can say stop. Cool. Okay. Hello, friends. So I'm here to update Caraval. I have been reading quite a bit, and I'm basically halfway. Let me just get cozy in my chair here. Okay, so I have some thoughts, and I just did a 30-minute timer to see how much I could get read, and I did get through quite a bit because it does read quickly and there's not a lot of words per page. So it's a longer book. It's 400 pages, but if the words were different, then it wouldn't be as long. So anyways, if you don't know, this follows a magical world and you follow these 2 sisters. They have a dad who seems pretty not nice, and he seems to just be abusive, and they don't feel safe around him. Scarlett and Donatella, those are the 2 sisters, they kind of take care of each other against their dad, and Scarlett has decided to marry a guy that she's never met. It's an arranged marriage, so that he can take her and Donatella and protect them from her dad. So that sucks. That's a sad situation. But also there's this world, well, there's this game called Caraval where this guy called the Legend, or just Legend, he puts on this game and you have to have an invitation to get in, and I don't even really know what the prize is. I don't remember that, whatever the prize is. Who even knows? Basically, the whole book is Scarlett does get an invitation to go to Caraval, so she does, because Donatella also goes there and gets lost and stuck in the game. So Scarlett has to go and save Donatella. Yes, it's very magical, but none of it feels evil, which is nice. So far, this way, halfway through, it doesn't feel evil. It just feels kind of trickstery, and it's fine. But some content considerations for you guys. So there's definitely some lust in this book, in particular between Scarlett and Julian. I would say that Julian's body and his muscles are very played up, and Scarlett is attracted to it, but she doesn't like his personality. She doesn't trust him, whatever. And even at this point, she still isn't really trusting him, but she's definitely attracted to him. And then he is like sometimes nice to her, sometimes not. We can't really figure out like what his motivations are. Like, they do think about kissing each other and they think about their attraction. And then there was a time when they had to share a bed. Nothing happened, but Scarlett was definitely nervous about sharing a bed with him, and stuff like that has happened. And then they think about kissing each other like a lot. There's been no language, and that's nice. So I still am not enjoying it personally, but so far I wouldn't caution readers against it or away from it at this point. However, on page 225, I made sure to stop here because I wanted to point it out. I don't appreciate when she acknowledges God in the back of her book. Like, and he's the very first one that she acknowledges. Let me find it. Okay, acknowledgements. She says, "Thank you, God, for being faithful when I was faithless, for your love and for every miracle that made this book possible." So that's really sweet, and I love to see that. But then I don't know, I guess like if it matched the world, this could make sense. But on page 225 of the paperback book, Scarlett is like thinking about how things are not going well, and she says she darted back into her room, locked the door, and prayed to the stars. If there was a God or saints, they hated her. And it's all lowercase, like God is lowercase, saints is lowercase. It's just interesting when the use of prayer is just kind of thrown out there. Like, who are you praying to though? Like, it just shows like the human condition is inclined to look to a higher power for safety. But then she says, prayed to the stars. If there was a God or saints, they hated her. And that wouldn't matter as much if a couple other things weren't going on. This author acknowledged God, and it's capitalized in the acknowledgements, and the world itself, like, it hasn't alluded to any kind of religion. Like, it's just kind of a thing to use, I guess, to show that she feels hopeless, when, I don't know, I just don't enjoy that. I just wanted to say that. Like, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but I do always notice if a book mentions, I want to pray, even if they're, or praying to a God that doesn't exist, or praying and God hates me, or whatever. Like, it, I don't know, I guess it's just evidence that we all have it in us, even those authors, that we know actually that God is real. Because why would we incline ourselves to think that way? Why would we, whatever? I don't know. Is that going too deep? I don't care. That's how I read, you know? But that probably doesn't have to matter to teenagers. I don't think that like makes me have to DNF this book and say, don't read this, you know? Like, I don't think that she's pushing any kind of agenda. I am kind of looking for agendas as well. I don't know. Anyways, I really want to try to binge this today. I'm ready to binge it. And then if I like it, like, I don't know, we'll see. I'll start Legendary, and that's all I can say. I will say something I think is super cute is Julian calls her Crimson instead of Scarlet. And I just think that's cute. Like, he has his little nickname for her, and I don't mind their dynamic, but Scarlet is so like helpless in herself. Like, she really can't figure things out by herself, and she gets into trouble, and she's just trying to save her sister, but her heart, like, her priorities aren't quite straight, but which is understandable because of like who she is and what she's been through. So I don't mind it for now, but I do find the overall writing style and the world building very confusing. Okay, I actually have no idea what's going on, and I don't enjoy reading that, but we're gonna keep going, okay? Hi everyone, update time. I've read quite a bit more of Caraval, and another little piece came up that I wanted to make note of on page 333. So this is in chapter 36, and yeah, a lot has happened. It's feeling like 2.5 stars right now for me. I'm not personally enjoying it, but it's keeping my interest enough that I'm willing to keep listening to the audiobook. But I wouldn't say that this is my kind of fantasy story. It's just not rooted in reality enough. I'm not enjoying the kind of fantastical world. So I already know that that is not my taste in fantasy, so now we know, but that's okay. I still want to share about this content piece. Again, it's referencing prayer in kind of just an odd way that I don't understand because it doesn't match the rest of the world. And that's why I'm noticing it. And I always notice it in secular books anyways, because it stands out to me. So two characters are talking and it says, "Every night I pray an angel will come down and cut off his hands so he won't hurt anyone again." So every night I pray an angel will come down. So a reference to heaven, I would say. And then it says, "I don't think that's what angels do. Maybe not the kind up in heaven, but there are different kinds of angels." And I just thought, so interesting. Like, why is that being mentioned? Is that going to come into play later on? But yeah, just a mention of prayer, heaven, and angels, and that they're in heaven, but that there are also different kinds of angels from other places. And I just wonder if that is like a believed fact in this world, or if it was just a device that Stephanie Garber used to, I don't even know, tell more of the story, I guess. But it's just strange to me, and I don't really enjoy that part. So that's just me, but there you go. So yeah, I finished chapter 36. So I'm on chapter 37 now. I am going to sit down and finish this, and then I'll come back with my final thoughts, and then we'll see. I think I will give Legendary a chance, but I don't know if I'll make it through. We'll see. I've actually heard better things about Legendary than Caraval, so maybe I'll slowly come around. But for now, this is feeling 2.5 star level. All right, so I finished Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and I'm landing on 2 stars for this for my personal rating, and I did write a fairly extensive Goodreads review, so I'll link it down below. And I do intend to start Legendary. This wasn't a complete turnoff, even though it's a 2-star away from the series. So I do plan to start Legendary. I have the audiobook. I have not gotten the physical book yet, and I would really like to read it physically along with the audio. So I may put a pause on this video until I can get the physical book in. But I hope that was helpful for you guys to like see kind of the content pieces throughout. Nothing else came up other than those 2 page numbers that I shared about when it talked about religion. The only other cautions I would give are there are like kissing scenes where it gets heated, but I wouldn't necessarily feel uncomfortable with like a 15-year-old and older reading it, but up to your discretion, of course. And then there was like parental abuse talked about. The dad is pretty terrible in this book, and you know that for the whole book. So it does suck in that way. But overall, like, I liked the ending. I liked how the girls did their thing. I liked Julian's character. Yeah, Legend is still, I have no idea, like, Legend is a character in this book. He's confusing to me. Like, there's things about the world and the magic system and even just what reality is that I'm confused, and I don't like that feeling. So that's the kind of fantasy that I don't enjoy reading. I like more grounded fantasy, and this feels more like whatever this expression is. Like, it just feels like it's not grounded. It's the opposite of grounded. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful, and I'm going to continue the series and I'll let you guys know. There was no language that I can remember at all in this book, so that's nice. But yeah, there's a little bit more of like, I guess you could say the sexual content, and then the spiritual content was kind of the yellow flags for me. So let's see how Legendary goes. I'll let you guys know when it comes in. Okay, everyone, hello. I finally got my hands on Legendary by Stephanie Garber. So this is book 2 to the Caraval Trilogy, and I have started it. I have the audiobook, and it expires, or it, whatever, I lose it in 3 days. So this is a very thick book. I didn't expect it to be that thick. Wow. It's like almost 500 pages. So I'm going to try to binge this. Of course, I'm juggling the rest of my life and all of my other content, so I'm going to do my best to read this. I will admit, so I am in chapter 1 right now. I listened to, there's like a prologue kind of that says 7 years ago. And then, yeah, chapter 1. I do like it so far in terms of like the narration. We're in Donatella's perspective, whereas in book 1 we were in Scarlett's perspective. So that's a nice change. but I still don't enjoy the world that it's set in. I don't find it very engaging to me or interesting to me. And then we are kind of entering into this a bit of like playing cards with magic. So like you could call them tarot cards, but they're not called that, but they have the same, they act the same way that tarot cards do. So I am a little bit uncomfortable by that, just because that is very much not in line with what I believe is good to be doing. And so I have my guard up, and we'll see how it goes. So far there's been no language and it's clean. Obviously I'm only in chapter 1, but it's those cards that have popped up. So I'm just kind of gonna predict that I don't recommend this series to young people. I could see how maybe adults would be able to enjoy it and like it, but it's just not my thing. I'm not into whimsical fantasy, whatever. And then on top of that, yeah, just a little bit of the content is like definitely not my thing. So yeah, but I will check in more when I've read some and just let you know. I may DNF this, or maybe I'll just like let the audiobook go. When I lose the audiobook, maybe I'll be done with this book. I don't know. So there we go. Here's my honest experience. All right, reading update. So I am on page 119, which is like basically chapter 13. And I'm not really seeing it, you guys. Like, there's a lot going on here, and I'm so interested in why people like this book, because it's just not my kind of fantasy. I wish I was more of a fantasy reader, but I guess I'm just not. I don't know. I always think that. There's definitely fantasy that I do like, but this is not one of them. So there's a few things, like, it feels like it's overly suggestive. That's what I am kind of frustrated by, is any chance there is for a character to make a suggestive comment that like kind of borderlines just like kind of sexual references is like just unnecessary. I feel like this could be way more like kind of cutesy, and it doesn't feel cutesy. It feels like it's trying to be more. It's trying to be gritty, and I don't like that, because I also don't like the story. So it's all just like a big compilation of me not liking this book. But I really want to see what the hype is. I want to see, like, why do people like this? So at this point in the book, Jax has made an appearance. So Jax is one of the main characters from Once Upon a Broken Heart, and he is kind of this character that everyone seems to love. So I was curious if he was going to show up in this trilogy, and he definitely does. He is playing kind of a prominent role in this book. So we'll see how that goes. And then we also know how that ends. Like, right now what's happening here is not what happens in Once Upon a Broken Heart. So something's gonna go down, and it's gonna be messy, I'm sure. So yeah, I have it in me to continue reading unless something very inappropriate happens. There's been no language, but just kind of subtle references that just feel unnecessary. I also don't find the characters very interesting. I feel like I'm poo-pooing on this book, but I know that this is a loved trilogy. I'm not judging anyone who likes this trilogy or likes this book, but I guess I'm just encountering another fantasy book that I don't really like. So yeah, I don't know if I'll check in again, I guess, unless something comes up, but basically I don't like this book. Hi everyone, so final update for Legendary. I am gonna DNF it at page 133, but basically chapter 14, because I got through this scene and I just thought the series is not going to be for me, and I do think that I have enough information about it now to give a review for all of you who may still want to read this trilogy and you just want to know what the content is in it. So I can hopefully tell you some of those things. Overall, Caraval, I think it's a fine recommendation. I think that it is fine for teenagers. It wasn't personally for me. I didn't enjoy the world or anything that was happening, really. I was interested a little bit in the characters and their relationships, but otherwise it just didn't interest me, so I did give it 2 stars. For Legendary, I went into it hoping that I would like it better than Caraval because I've heard better things about this book, and you do follow Donatella rather than Scarlet, which I thought would be an interesting change. But I do find that it continued what Caraval was doing, where there was just a lot of suggestive language around bodies and attraction and just how you react to another body when you're attracted to it. I didn't feel a connection with the characters, so I didn't really feel giddy, I guess, when it came to their attraction. And then on top of that, the few other content pieces where there were these cards that were very much like tarot cards. And then we do have Jax, which is the Prince of Hearts. He is in this book, and there is a scene where he is kissing someone, and it just was very like possessive a little bit, and just uncomfortable, the language around how that happened. And then there was like physical touching of the upper body, and I just was like, I don't want to read that, and I wouldn't recommend it. So now I can't say that I'll recommend this trilogy. I won't recommend this book. Fine, start with Caraval, but why would you read that if you can't read the rest of them? So that's just my personal take. If you like it, if you enjoyed it, more power to you, but it's not for me. But I'm not the golden standard, so please enjoy it if you do. But for parents and young people who want to know, I wouldn't say that this is a good recommendation for a teenager to be reading. Of course, there's worse things out there, but I think there's better out there too. I know it's hard to find. I have lots of recommendations on my channel of different young adult books that I do stand behind and I do recommend. I'll link them down below. But unfortunately, this series is just not for me, and I'm not going to continue it. So that's the end of this video. But I would love to hear your guys' take on all of this. Like, how do you navigate figuring out, I don't know, I guess what your convictions are. Like, I definitely am in tune with the Holy Spirit, and what am I comfortable reading that maybe others wouldn't be, and vice versa. For the sake of this video, for the sake of it being a resource for you, I read it a little bit. I got, you know, a quarter of the way in, but that is all that I'm going to share about this series. So now you all know. I hope that this is helpful. Again, use your own discretion, of course, and no regrets. Like, I'm glad that I gave it a try. I now feel like Stephanie Garber just isn't the author for me, and I probably won't read any more of her books. I know she has an adult release, The Alchemy of Secrets, that I considered trying because it is adult, but that worries me even more because I assume that the content in Legendary will be even more so in her adult book, and I just don't want to be reading that. So yeah, it's not my style of fantasy. I think I like more, I guess, medieval slash, like, I'm not really into alternate dimensions, I guess, and like whatever Caraval is, like, I don't know how that all works. It was also quite confusing. Like, I'm not into the confusing fantasy. So there's my video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope that this was helpful, you guys. And I'm going to continue to try popular young adult series and books. That's going to be a part of my channel until I get so sick of it that I don't. But there's definitely Christian young adult out there. I just don't have as much access to it because they're not really in my library, and I don't like do Kindle Unlimited, or like I'm limited with what I have available when it comes to Christian options. I would love to have more Christian options, and we'll figure that out. But I do still care a lot about young readers, and even though I'm not a parent and I haven't been a young reader in a long time, I just, part of my heart is for you guys. Because I grew up reading young adult books, and I was reading young adult books in my early 20s still. Like, there's something so special about young adult because it's so fun, and just there's so much you can do with that age group. And fantasy in particular, I like young adult fantasy. There's some that are just so good, but the latest publishing has not been good for that genre. So I just feel like I want to be a part of finding the good recommendations. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. So thank you all for being a part of this, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.